This investigation has been turned over to CID. It's no longer our jurisdiction.
Don't let them do this.
Let it go, Agent Mulder. You did your job.
So did Nathaniel Teeger.
You found the man that you were looking for, but now he's dead. It's over.
Is that what you believe? Is that what you really believe? They're not just denying this man's life, they're denying his death. And with all due respect, sir, he could be you.
The intro?
What?
Well, my name's Jeff. This is Luke.
Oh, God. We've just given up at this point.
We are back. Hey, this is lockdown rules, Luke. Lockdown rules. Anything goes.
Is that what lockdown rules are? I thought there was a lot more.
We don't have to be professional on this podcast anymore.
Anything. Okay. Fair enough.
This is Most Unwanted and X-Files podcast. Are we missing a trick not explaining what the podcast is about every week?
I read the other day that people who don't start a podcast and get straight to the topic within 5 minutes are going to lose followers all the time. And I read that and I thought, well, we're fucked at this point, but... So maybe it might help if we did have some kind of, explanation of what we do.
Okay. So I'm going to be nice and quick about it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a podcast where we talk about the X-Files and generally muck about.
Generally, yeah. Pretty much.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. And in these lockdown times when we have nothing to talk about in our daily lives, we start off with Luke's brand new segment.
Questions with the boys. Questions with the boys. After chasing sunset, one of life's simple joys. Questions with the boys.
Well, I've got some amazing questions for you to puzzle. I probably shouldn't say amazing. I've got some questions for you today. Okay, so this is our new segment where we just ask each other some simple questions. We get to know a bit about each other. We get to talk a bit about stuff because, again, nothing is happening. So,
and our listeners get to learn a little bit about us as well.
Well, I'd like to hope so. I mean, to be honest, they probably I don't care about you two. Just talk about the X-Files.
I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, well, I mean... So, my questions for you this week. What is your favourite forest? It could be a rainforest, any type of forest, anything in the forest family.
Oh, I thought you meant a specific forest.
Well, yeah, it has to be a specific forest, but, any type, it can be,
Okay. Well, I was thinking of forests in England, and the only one I could think of is Nottingham Forest. I don't know whether that counts.
I mean, that is a forest, yeah, and surprisingly, that was probably going to be up there for my pick as well.
And then I was thinking about outside the world, and it's the Amazon rainforest, and that's the only one I could think of straight away. So I'm going to go for the Amazon rainforest. Because you don't have the Amazon rainforest and Nottingham Forest and choose Nottingham Forest.
Okay. Well, I'm going to choose Nottingham Forest.
Well, hang on, I'm not even giving my reasons yet.
Okay, you give your reasons then.
I love the Amazon rainforest because I'm pretty sure it's the densest forest for living creatures. Apparently there's millions of species that haven't even been discovered in the Amazon rainforest, which is really sort of quite a cool thing. And also, I read a story from a friend of mine, and I'm going to steal their story, basically, because I'd never even realised. They posted something on Facebook about how a couple of years ago they went camping in the Amazon rainforest.
What?
Yeah. And there was a lot of interesting little bits to the story. So one of them was of a night you couldn't go to the loo because you weren't allowed to put your bare feet into a shoe without shaking it first or looking into it, because if there's something poisonous in there, you're dead, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was a really interesting sort of. I thought that'd be amazing.
See,
I saw an Instagram video, and it was like this big tree. There's a tree trunk, and it was like a fluffy tree trunk. It like had like all this fur on it. I was like, that's so strange. And then this guy put his hand on the tree trunk, and you realised it wasn't fluff. It was ants, and his hand got completely covered in these ants.
Yeah. I mean, ants are the scariest. Well, they're not the scariest thing in the rainforest. But I remember reading a story about there's a type of ant. I think they're just called like an army ant or something like that. But they basically, if they have a destination, they will just go through what they need to get to this destination. And there's stories of like a dead animal just lay in the path, and instead of going over it, they'll eat their way across it. And there's urban legends that this can happen to people asleep as well. So that makes me never want to stay in the Amazon.
I can't imagine it would take less than a night to eat through you, though. Although a chunk out of you don't really want either, I suppose.
I mean, yeah. I don't want any ants eating me. Ants in the pants.
You can't just say a phrase with the word ants in and expect a laugh.
Well, we'll see if that hits at home.
More importantly, what's your reasons for the Nottingham Forest?
I like Robin Hood.
That's a good reason.
That's all I got. That's all it's got, really. That's all it's got. It is. I don't know. There's a lot of like mystery, I suppose, to Nottingham Forest in England. Probably not as much as the Amazon or the Congo because it's so big. But it's got all that like Robin Hood connection, all that kind of stuff. It's interesting. Britain doesn't have like these folklore. Well, it has lots of folklores, but they're kind of nicked from everywhere, aren't they? So to have one that's your own is kind of nice.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that.
Okay, my second question, and I did steal this from somewhere, but I'm not going to tell you where.
Okay.
So my question to you is: do you think that Toy Story 2 could ever happen in real life?
Oh god!
No, I want your honest answer.
I don't think it could happen in real
Not
life.
at all. Not at all. Not. What about like Small Soldiers?
Yeah.
What about if like we had like the chips from Small Soldiers got into, I don't know, a Buzz Lightyear? Do you reckon nothing there?
So, I suppose what you're asking is okay. So I maybe misinterpreted the question. I thought you meant, is the story of Toy Story 2 ever going to happen in real life?
Right, yeah.
If what you're asking me is, will there at any point in the future be some sort of AI program that can then be put into, rather than a human lookalike, be put into a smaller doll-shaped figure, then that is possible. Yeah, I could see that happening. But it wouldn't be the story of Toy Story 2.
I think you're thinking too small there. That's anything's possible on a long enough timescale.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we have got infinity to think about.
So the answer is yes. Yes was the correct answer. Exactly.
The most sponsored podcast definitely answers to your question. Toy Story 2 is definitely possible.
Now, I mean, yeah, I suppose that concludes our questions with the boys this week.
Fantastic. I mean, usually we have a deep question in there.
I'll be honest, I ran out of time right before I realised that I had to do these questions.
Love it. It's fine. Let's get straight on with the show then. So, this is episode 16 of season 4. It's entitled, I actually don't, is this, how do you say this word? Is it unrequited or unrequited?
Unrequited, that's how I've always heard it pronounced.
Okay, so it's Unrequited, the title. It was a story by Howard Gordon, and the teleplay was by Howard Gordon and Chris Carter. Initially released February 23rd, 1997. Let's get straight to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, we start off at, I suppose, like a rally. It looks like a memorial, sort of a Memorial Day service, if you like. And so there's a military man giving a speech to a crowd of people. And what we quickly realise is, give me eyes, we don't know what's going on, I need eyes on the ground. And we find out that there's a few agents, including Mulder and Scully, in the crowd looking for what appears to be an assassinator. An assassin. An assassinator.
Assassinator.
It's
Just... It's a mix between Terminator and Assassin, I think that is.
We're looking for an assassin. So yeah, we cut between all the agents, and they're all keeping in contact with the headpieces. They keep getting the sort of a glimpse of who they believe to be this assassin. And every time they get a glimpse of him, they lose him. Scully's got this picture to go off, and she confirms that it's definitely him, but then he keeps disappearing. Eventually, he ends up walking towards the stage, and Mulder sees him. And when Mulder sees him, he sees that he draws a gun. So Mulder, in turn, draws his gun and shouts that he's got a gun, obviously causing panic. But we then see the gunman disappear in front of Mulder's eyes. And we just leave Mulder just literally aiming his gun at the crowd at that point and not knowing where he's gone.
Yeah.
And then we get into the intro. What did you think of this, the start of it?
I really like this because I don't think we've seen... I can't remember an X-Files episode where we basically start in the middle of the story. And especially when we find out, when we come back to that point later on, and I'll talk about it then. But it's interesting to see how different the scenes feel after knowing what's happened. But I did like this starting in the middle because it just gives you some action straight away. You see what this guy is like. What's his power, I suppose, and instantly you like know what this X-Files plot is going to be without knowing the full details. And again, that all gets filled in. So I really like this start, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. Has this been done before? I don't remember a series. I don't remember an episode, should I say, where the intro wasn't preceding the rest of the story.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone we've seen before has been something before the rest of the story. Whereas this is literally just a chunk of the middle of the episode at the beginning. But I don't think we've seen that before.
No, and I think it does make it, like you say, it messes with what your opinions are because of the story that you find out. So it gives you like these two perspectives of the same scene, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, after the intro, we cut to 12 hours earlier, and we are at Fort Evanston in Maryland, and we see Lieutenant General Peter McDougal, who I don't know, I can't remember whether he gets given the name in the episode, but that's what he's credited as.
I don't think so, no.
No. He's in his limousine. It looks pretty secure. The driver puts up the barrier between him and the cab, and the doors are all locked. So, as far as he's aware, he's pretty secure in there. Skinner's briefing. We see him figure out. He's got like this playing card on his file in front of him.
Yeah.
And he turns it over, and it's got like a skull with like two cutlasses, bloody cutlasses.
Reminded me a lot of The Dark Knight, and I kind of was expecting the car to explode all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. It's got that symbolism, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the very sort of cliche symbolism with the sort of calling card of the actual deck of playing cards. Probably worth noting as well is the king card. We see this card, and then all of a sudden he looks up, and we see the assassin or the gunman or whatever you want to call him from the beginning, the intro. He's in the car. He asks how he got in there, and before he knows it, he shoots him in the head. What we then see is the driver pull over, panic, get out, and realise what's happened, but the gunman's nowhere to be seen. all I could think of in this situation was, God, that driver is in the worst position in the world right now.
Imagine trying to explain that.
Well, like, you'd be looking for your options and be like, well, that's it, my life's over, because there's no way I can explain the way out of this one.
Yeah,
even though it's complete innocence.
Yeah, your only alibi is dead, and you're the only person who could have potentially done it in a logical world, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah. So we then cut to the FBI headquarters, and Skinner's briefing all the agents on what happened. He notes that there was a playing card left as a calling card, and he also says that these playing cards were used by soldiers in Vietnam to mark their kills. So how did that work? I didn't really understand that. How would they mark the kills with a playing card?
I'm guessing just put them on the bodies, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what that meant. I didn't really think about it too much.
Yeah. But anyway, we know that they're used traditionally by Vietnam soldiers.
Yeah. Which ties Skinner to it straight away. I thought as soon as they mentioned it was a Vietnam vet, potentially, then yeah, Skinner's being dragged into this as we know he's an ex-Vietnam soldier himself.
Yeah, exactly. So he's obviously got this personal tie to the case. They go on to talk about like who they suspect has done it. Obviously, the cab driver gets brought up straight away. There is somebody, because the reports say that there was no way he could have been himself that shot himself. The cab driver is called into question, but then there is somebody at the table who says, well, the evidence suggests that he didn't do it. I don't know what evidence they had to suggest he didn't do it.
They gave him a lie detector or a polygraph, they mentioned.
Which passed. Yeah. But apparently Scully says that it was inconclusive questions.
Yeah.
So it didn't really give them a pass on it. But what they do say is they suspect a far-right group called the Right Hand, and they believe that they killed him because it basically in an effort to stop a re-dedication of a Vietnam War memorial. And that's who their initial suspicions are.
Yeah. I did like this scene as well, as Skinner, he's quite honest with Mulder and Scully, basically saying, I don't know what we're doing in this one. We've sort of been called in. We don't have much to go on. And yeah, he's sort of, he mentions that he's flying by the seat of his pants. So yeah. I did like, Skinner seems to just be quite honest to his agents, you know what I mean? He doesn't try and cover stuff up.
I don't think it's honest to his agents. I think it's honest to Mulder and Scully.
Well, yeah.
For me, season 4 has been a breakthrough for their relationship, where I do feel they're Skinner's guys now. They're Skinner knows that they're on his side, and Mulder and Scully know that Skinner's on their side. Yeah. And they just try. They're not like, they won't back each other through thick and thin. Like, if any of them do anything wrong, the other will call the other out on it. But I love the fact that they both understand that they're both trying to do the right thing, and so helping each other 9 times out of 10 is the beneficial thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like this developing relationship they've got between them. In the next scene, we see Mulder and Scully head to Virginia, where we find Denny Markham, who is the leader of the Right Hand. There's a little bit of a strange scene where they're at the gates and he calls them in, lets them know, but then the dogs get released on them and they have to sort of escape.
Yeah.
He does come out, and basically he comes out afterwards and he's quite civil. But I think the idea of this is, I think you're meant to know straight away that he's not involved.
Mm-hmm.
I think they want you to know that doesn't make him the good guy, in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
No, he's definitely at least suspicious of the federal. Well, I mean, he even says that they don't like the federal government getting involved with things, which you see that a lot from like groups, on the right, who don't want this like involvement of government, I suppose, in their affairs. But he's like to the nth degree, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. They do end up searching the property, and they find a picture of him and who it's who we know is the assassin, which is Sergeant Nathaniel Teager, Now, Markham is difficult. He tells them what they want to know, but it's hard to say. Like, it's not like he doesn't give them the answers that they need. He's just difficult in dealing with them, and he lets his disdain for the government show throughout his face and the way he talks to them throughout the conversation.
But it is interesting in this one though, because they paint this guy as this like radical, right wing element, or like this group.
Yeah.
But then when he's talking to them and explaining who this guy is, and then he starts explaining basically what the conspiracy turns out to be, you kind of think, well, he's kind of doing a good deed, really. Like, because I don't know if you want to carry on, explain like who this guy's meant to be.
Yeah, basically, he's angry because he's been let down by the government. He's angry for all the right reasons, and it's not like he's committed a crime, don't forget. He's just angry at the government for what's happened, especially involving Tiga, which I'll explain now. Basically, turns out that Tiga was a soldier in Vietnam who was taken as a prisoner of war, and then during that time, when he was a prisoner of war, he was left for dead, even though the American government, before that... So basically, okay, it's hard to explain. So he was taken as a prisoner of war, and then the American government came out and said all prisoners of war have been rescued.
Yeah.
Even though they hadn't. And so what happened was Markham and other soldiers, I'm assuming, went out to rescue these soldiers. But the problem there was the government didn't want them being let out, because then if they blew up their whole cover story about all the prisoners of war being rescued, that make the government look bad. Exactly,
yeah. And like I said, when he starts explaining this, it's the first sort of seed for the rest of this episode where you kind of think, this guy like comes across as an arsehole, but he's very justified in what he's saying and why he's annoyed.
You can understand from even a personal point of view why he's so angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this guy, Tiga, was left for dead. Well, not even left for dead. They knew he was alive. They left him to make themselves look good.
Yeah. Especially when he was sort of sent in the first place and, basically trained and whatnot by the government, and then, just left when, basically, he becomes a problem.
So, to sort of get this point across, we also flip to a scene now with Tiga, and he approaches a widow who's grieving at a war memorial, and he gives her the tags of her husband, of her who she assumes is her late husband, but tells her that her husband's still alive and is a prisoner of war still. The woman obviously breaks down in tears at this news, and as she looks back up, Tiga's mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah. She mentions, it's not consequential to the plot, but she does mention that she's remarried and moved on with her life as well, so this news is extra devastating for her.
Yeah, when she's talking to Scully later on, she mentions that, and I really felt sorry for her, to be honest, because I don't know why, because as you said, it was so inconsequential to the episode, but like, I thought she was a really good actress, to be honest with you, and I felt so sorry for her, because I didn't know what she would do in that situation. It reminded me a little bit of, have you ever watched Castaway?
Yeah, Tom Hanks.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. I always, whenever I see the end of that film, I always just end up getting into my own head and thinking about things too much. Because, when he gets... Sorry, spoilers for Castaway.
It came out in 2000, didn't it? 20 years.
But, when he comes back and he finds that his love is remarried.
Yeah.
And it's just like, God, that's got to be so tough. Because, what do you do? It's not no fault of your own, but then it's no fault of theirs either. It's just like a really horrible situation.
Yeah, basically, yeah. There's nobody's fault. It's just, it just sucks.
Which makes it so much more difficult to deal with.
Yeah. It's not like she just cheated on him or something like that, because she assumed he was dead.
Yeah, exactly. So, it reminded me very much of the same feelings here. But we see Skinner telling the agents, because obviously Mulder's told them about Tiga, we see them telling the agents that Teague is officially dead, and he knows that because his remains are at a forensics lab. From a flight that went down. So forgot to mention this, that Markham mentioned that Teague was in a plane but then disappeared from the plane, and he never found out where he went. But all he knows is he was alive when he last saw him. Yeah,
I did like Skinner talking about this, knowing what we know by the end. Is he saying, "Oh, we've got his remains"? When we actually find out what his remains are, you can kind of see where this conspiracy is set up, and also you can kind of see Skinner towards the end anyway, why he's basically been led down this path, and then when it all starts crumbling down, he starts to question it a bit, at least at the end. And that was my thoughts towards the end, but I mean, we'll get to that. But yeah, it was interesting that he just believes it, they have the remains, it's not even a debate.
Well, when they said that, I imagined the body.
Yeah, exactly.
Normal person imagines they've got the body, which doesn't tend to be the case, because when Mulder goes to the lab and questions about the remains, we find out that it's basically a few teeth.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I'm sure people could fake. You know what I mean? Like even if they are his. You know what I mean? Or even if they were just teeth, like you could easily fake that and just say, yeah, it's his dental records.
Well, the thing is, it wasn't even a good enough job to get past the doctors, because there was marks on the teeth from where it looked like they'd been pulled, and the death certificate clearly states on it inconclusive.
Yeah.
They didn't know whether he was dead or not, but the army have taken that inconclusive result, gone on to confirm his death, but also destroyed some of the elements of the post-mortem too.
Yeah.
With the help of that doctor, Mulder tracks down who signed the death certificate, and that leads him to General John Steffen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you mention, because I know we jumped ahead a bit, did you mention the woman at the statue where her eyes started bleeding?
Yeah, of course. So that was when Mulder and Scully were interviewing her about it. Basically, she was confirming that it definitely was Teague that was there, and then she suddenly started crying blood.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I would be just as terrified as her if I started crying blood, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Scully's nonplussed by it. She said it's just like a burst blood vessel. But Mulder wants to know more about why this is happening.
Yeah.
We found out who this General John Steffen is, and Mulder assumes that this guy is the next target of the assassin.
Yeah.
Of Teague, who we now know his name.
Yeah.
We see this Steffen. Mulder calls Steffen, tells him that there's a problem. Steffen says it's okay. I've got people with me. I'm going to the Pentagon now. And Mulder sends FBI agents to escort him just to be on the safe side. Upon entering the Pentagon, he goes through security, but we also see on the security footage Teague entering security as well. And it does go off, but the security guard turns around and apparently doesn't see him walk through.
Yeah. We see it on the monitor, but this guy doesn't see him at all.
Yeah. And so there's this theory sort of being built by Mulder that Teague can not disappear, but stay in a spot where your eyes... You've got basically like a natural blind spot in your eyes.
Something like that, yeah.
He mentions that there was... in Vietnam, the enemy it was assumed that the enemy could do this because they would just appear and disappear at will.
Yeah.
And it was assumed that the enemy had this ability, and then the idea being that during the POW camp, he learned this ability from them.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's a bit of bending of the truth, but this mystical art that they can sort of do this, but it works for the plot, to be honest. There's enough mystery in it, and they don't explain enough where you go, okay, it's what we've said before. It's mysterious enough where it's not fully explained, where you can start pulling it apart, but it's got a grounding in the world, I suppose. So you can go, well, he learnt it from the Viet Cong, basically, you know what I mean?
Exactly. You can pull it apart. Like, if you really wanted to pull it apart, you could look into this and go, well, hang on, what does he cause this condition in people beforehand, and how does he cause that condition?
Yeah.
But like you said, like I never, not once when I watched in the episode did I ever get pulled out of it because of this, and that's all I want. All I want is not to have to be pulled out of the story to go, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I went with it, and that's fine, and it doesn't have to all make sense. It's sci-fi at the end of the day, and that's why I enjoy it. And I think it was implemented really well.
Yeah. Did you ever, I can't remember who it was now. It was a scientific community, and I remember ages ago reading about it, and they basically said that sci-fi films and TV need to start implementing more rules to keep it grounded in actual science. So one of their examples was Starship Troopers. The aliens couldn't exist like that because their legs would break under their body weight. And I remember reading it and just thinking, how boring would Starship Troopers be if all of a sudden you've got these massive, huge things? Like, I don't know. I was just like, I see your point. It's a story. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't agree with that.
No,
I feel like you're cutting off most of a writer's creativity if you start playing like. So we see Stefan finally make it into the office. His security detail comes in with him, but he sends them out, and he then notices a card on his desk, and again he sees Tiga in the office with him.
Mm-hmm.
The one difference with this murder is that he calls over. He's on the phone with Mulder, and he confirms to Mulder that he sent his agents out the room, and no one's there with him. He's on the phone with Mulder when he dies.
Yeah.
So this is basically, unlike the driver in the cab instance, we know now that it couldn't have been any of the security detail.
Yeah, exactly. I did also think that when they were doing this, that it always seems to be that the security detail always say, "I'll stay outside the room, don't you worry." Why they've got two? Just have one in, one out. You know what I mean? As cover all bases.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I wonder whether there's rules for that, especially with top secret organizations. Whether would the security detail be allowed in certain rooms? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Also, to be fair, it wouldn't have helped him in this situation anyway.
Certainly wouldn't have now. So yeah, this guy gets assassinated, and when Mulder's investigating the case, this is where, I know we spoke about this earlier, but this is where we get the sort of explanation of the possibly getting this power from the Viacom troops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's explaining it to Skinner, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Who always seems to be annoyed. I've just noticed.
I mean, I don't think I've seen anything go right for Skinner, so I can understand.
Yeah. He always seems to be on the losing side, but
yeah. Mulder's going for broke, and he arranges a meeting with. I keep on Lady X. That's the best way to call her.
Lady X.
Is it Marissa?
Yeah, is it Maria or Marish? I can't remember. Carovius.
M-M-I-T-A, but he never says her name, or at least I don't remember him saying her name.
No, the only reason we've got their name is because it's in the script. So they've never spoke to each other in first name terms, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm still going to call her Lady X. It just seems much better.
Yeah.
And unusually, she basically turns around and says that she doesn't have any information for him. But she asks him, what details have you found out about the case? And she basically, from the details he tells her, she insinuates, and again, it's all letting Mulder figure it out himself, but she insinuates that Stefan McDougal and this guy called Block, who we don't quite know yet, were all involved in negotiating POW's release.
Yeah.
Block was the guy in the intro that we saw giving the speech, wasn't he?
And there was just a scene where he's interrogating that guy, the right hand guy.
Oh, as well.
Yeah, it was right before it, but not a lot happens other than he gets a bit rattled and slams him up against the wall.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we learn that these three are involved, so it basically makes Block a target now. And the idea behind it is this is where we start to get like a little shift in who's the real bad guy of this episode.
Yeah.
Because we've got a situation where it's insinuated it could be the government trying to kill these men because they have the knowledge that they've hidden this. So if these guys go to jail or speak out about what they've done, it would make the government look bad. So there's the insinuation that it could be the government either orchestrating this or allowing this to happen.
Yeah, I got the implication that they're not like sort of controlling it, but they know it's happening and just thinking, let's see how this works itself out.
Yeah, it's in their interest because if they go, there's no one to tell that story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Which again, I know we spoke about this earlier, but it makes for a very interesting bookend to the episode, both the start and the beginning and the end.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
It makes you watch that entire scene in a completely different light.
Yeah, because this guy at the beginning you just see him as this like crazed attacker with these special powers, like, and then now when you get to it, you start seeing that actually this guy's got a pretty good reason and a good grudge with the government, and also knowing that he's being manipulated as much as the guy on the stage. Yeah,
exactly. So obviously Mulder goes to tell Block that he's in danger. Block's on his way to the speech that we see at the beginning of the episode. And Block's very stubborn. He basically tells Mulder, well, it's your job to protect me, and I'm not going to stop, and I'm not going to sort of feel panicked. Mm-hmm. Scully and Skinner are already there, and Scully happens to see Teague in the crowd when the cars are going past.
Yeah.
She, again, gets a gun out, but no sooner than she sort of reacted to it, she'd already lost him in the crowd.
Yeah, again, he's using that ability. So
Yeah. So this is where Mulder tells Skinner and Scully about what he found out. That the government had arranged for, basically, not arranged, but like you said, allowing this to play out.
Yeah.
Because they want the truth to remain a secret.
Yeah. I did like in this exchange, Scully replies basically saying, the government wouldn't do that, would they? And it's like, after everything that you've seen, surely at this point you'd be like, they might do.
Well, don't forget as well, it's not just about what's happened in the past, it's also about American POWs still being there.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so sensitive. My main takeaway from this entire exchange was, it feels like Skinner talks himself into being on the government side.
Yeah.
But I just felt like with his facial expressions, even though he wouldn't outwardly say it, he wasn't surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like that's the soldier in Skinner. I feel like even though he's not had it anywhere near as bad as like some of these people, I feel like he still has that sort of feeling of betrayal of, does my country really care about me type of thing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's a common thing you hear of people who fought in Vietnam, that they sort of did their duty for their country and then came back and not no one liked them, but there was such a bad taste to the war that they bore the brunt of it. So, it's interesting to see that this is about the Vietnam War and it's the veterans from that, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Well,
that leads us straight into the same scene that we saw at the beginning of the episode. Mm-hmm. Pretty much exactly like for like for a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And we see all the same scenes, Skinner telling everyone that they're guys on the ground, Scully looking around for this person. But we do see a little bit from Teague's perspective as well. And as Teague's going through the crowd, a friend of his recognizes him, and we assume from his platoon, and follows him into like the sort of dark sort of corner of this sort of staging area. And basically says, hey, what, like, he disappears for a little bit, but then he does show himself to this friend. I didn't get the friend's name, actually.
They don't mention his name. The only reason I've got it down here is on the script. It says that his name's Danziger.
Danziger. Oh,
Danziger.
I do actually may have said it's Danziger. You know what I mean? I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
maybe. Yeah.
Teague tells Danziger what's been going on. Like Danziger hasn't seen him for 24 years. And as he's telling Danziger, sort of what he's doing or, how he feels betrayed, Danziger sort of, he doesn't want to feel like that. He doesn't want to feel, anger towards the government or... I feel like he just wants to get on with his life type thing rather than in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
But Teague says he can't do that, and he knows who's at fault, and he also hands a list of names and serial numbers of POWs still in captivity in America, which Danziger just sort of looks distraught about when he did it again. He said he doesn't want to believe it before he gets this list.
Yeah, that it is interesting with this because I'm led to believe by the end of it that this is, while there's some character progression in the characters in it, like the main characters, that this will be a one-off episode. But it would be really interesting if that list popped up again.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do something like that, especially if these powers or this sort of ability of sort of finding this sort of blind spot in people's eyes is a widely used thing in other parts of the world. I think that could make for a really interesting episode. It could but yeah, I get the same impression of you that it was probably going to be just a one-off.
I don't think we'll see it again, but it would be interesting if we did. It'd be a nice callback, I suppose. Yeah.
And then the scenes of the intro play out. So Scully sees him, he disappears, then Mulder sees him, draws his gun, but he disappears again. And Mulder realizes that you can't see him in your direct line of sight. You can only see him in your peripherals, basically.
Yeah.
Because that's what the blind spot is.
Yeah.
And so as Skinner's trying to get Block out of there, Mulder catches up and realizes the Block's in the car.
Yeah.
And at the moment, Teague not Block's in the car, Teague is in the car. And at that moment, Teague starts shooting. And there's this one agent. I don't know whether we see this agent or whether he's got a name or anything. But he just starts firing at the front of the car, and he's the guy that takes Teague out.
Yeah. I mean, he's listed as Agent Hill, but again, I don't know if that's if he's a recurring character or if he's just, I don't know, some Agent of the Week type of person.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so yeah, he's tried to drive away, but Agent Hill, our number one agent, he's shot him down, and we find Teague is dead.
Yeah.
Skinner, it's worth noting, Skinner does get shot in the process. Just looks like a graze. It doesn't look like anything serious. But he also, as he lays dying outside the car when he gets pulled out, he repeats his serial number?
Yeah, identification number, something like that.
Yeah. So he basically and then dies after that. So what's thinking of this final scene, especially when the fact that we've seen it already and how it played out in two different scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, at this point now, again, going through this entire scene, you kind of... I'm not rooting for the guy to kill somebody, but you really do see it from his perspective at this point now, and you've... it is quite sad seeing this guy who's been abandoned by his country, then finally makes his way out and kind of wants some revenge to just get shot and killed in the process. I mean, it was probably going to be the end for him anyway, regardless of what happened, but it is interesting to, because at this point now you go, oh, this guy wasn't really the bad guy. He just had a grudge, I suppose. I don't know. It's an interesting one. There's a lot, as everybody knows, there's a lot going on right now where where traditionally the good guys and bad guys of stuff you can kind of. It's weird to say good guys and bad guys because the real world's not that clear cut, but But it is interesting that you sort of get this same sort of parallels to real life now, that like the people who typically are sort of looked at as, you know, the good guys are doing things you go, well, that's not good. You know what I mean? So it is interesting that that we watched this episode at this time, but there's a lot of parallels with this and X-Files. Like, you could go back through a lot of the episodes, but it was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. When I think X-Files is at its best when it starts taking on the sort of the structure of government and the idea behind having power and how that affects you and what that means and how best to use it. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's always going to have parallels in situations like today where the situations we find ourselves in, the Black Lives Matter movement. And so, yeah, there's always going to be parallels between those two things. But especially in this episode, I thought it was very poignant that we watched it this time, to be honest.
Yeah.
We finish off the episode with basically Mulder being told that they've named the assassin as a different person, and basically they're covering up that he was ever involved in this.
Yeah.
And he sort of just had this weird altercation with Skinner, where he basically just tells Skinner that to maybe think about himself as a soldier rather than the position that he's in. Mm-hmm. But I feel like Skinner was always doing that. I feel like it was just Mulder lashing out, maybe. Yeah.
Because he sort of makes the insinuation that this could have easily been you. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. He makes him look at it as from without power, just look at it from as a soldier perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we end with a shot of Tega's name on the memorial wall, and the secrets of the government secrets stay hidden.
Yeah, I did like this as well, though, because that look that Skinner gives after Mulder's left and he's looking at the monument, it's sort of, there's some kind of realization, cogs are ticking, and yeah, I think it's further in this story of Skinner not being the company man. You know what I mean? He always does a lot, in his role. But yeah, more and more stuff happens that puts everything into doubt. And again, this is just another one of those things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's one of my favourite storylines of this season, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you want to just go over the overall end of the episode, or?
That was the overall end of the episode, wasn't it?
I mean, what do you think, innit?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. To be honest, I kind of did that earlier, but yeah, that's fair enough, yeah. So what did you think of the episode as a whole, then?
Do you know what, at the beginning, with this start, I was like, oh, this just looks like it's going to be some kind of Monster of the Week episode, and just sort of not writing it off, but thinking, oh, it's just going to be one of those type of episodes. But the way that the actual story pans out, and the tension of it as well, this cat and mouse chase between the killer and Mulder and Scully, I really like this episode more than I expected to. And yeah, as we mentioned before, that the switching from the first scene and then seeing it again later on is just really good, because again, it just shows you, as soon as you've got some context to it, it completely flips what you think of that opening scene. Yeah.
To be honest, I've pretty much got the exact same opinion. Mm-hmm. I did enjoy the episode. I don't think it was groundbreaking. I don't think it changed status quo. And I am getting to a point where, even though it's only been a few episodes, I'm not sure how well these Monster of the Week episodes are gelling with me now that I know Scully's got cancer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I found myself quite a few times in this episode going, oh yeah, hasn't Scully got cancer? And it doesn't feel like it's affecting her at all. And I suppose it wouldn't. I suppose people do get on with their lives, but I don't know. It just feels, it feels out of place sometimes.
Yeah.
But that might just be me. I'm not sure. But yeah, I did really enjoy the episode as a whole, and I thought Tega was great as well, the guy who played Tega.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in anything else, but yeah, I thought he was great in this role.
Luke's production notes.
During the show's fourth season, episode co-writer Howard Gordon was slated to pen only one episode, the 19th entry, Cyclone. So we've got that to look forward to. However, after hearing rumours about American CIA agents left behind during the Vietnam War, he started to develop what would become the story for Unrequited. The day before the show's 1996 Christmas break, Howard approached series creator Chris Carter and co-executive producer Frank Spotnitz and told them about his new episode idea. The project was greenlit, but Howard struggled with breaking the story, necessitating Carter heavily assisting him. Thus the shared writing credits.
I did wonder, because usually if Chris Carter's writing an episode, he tends to just write it himself, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I thought as soon as I saw Chris Carter's name, I thought we might have a mythology episode. But yeah, it must have just been in there to sort of assist.
Yeah. It is strange, yeah. He's pretty much always attached with mythology episodes. I mean, there has been the odd separate one, but yeah. Gordon had long been interested in writing an antagonist who could turn invisible, but he struggled with finding a scientific mechanism to explain this plot point. Eventually, Gordon discussed the struggle with his ophthalmologist brother, who told him about blind spots in the human eye. Gordon noted, these stories came from scientific research, so I said, what if someone could actually create a field of vision where none actually existed? Gordon decided to make the antagonist... Oh, that's a different point, but yeah.
It's exactly what we were saying earlier, isn't it? As long as it's got some grounding in real life, I can roll with it.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's got some basis, it's fine. Gordon decided to make the antagonist a Vietnam War veteran because they're getting old and like the Holocaust survivor in Kadesh starting to die. This episode also allowed Gordon the chance to give Vietnam veteran Walter Skinner a larger role, a chance that Gordon relished.
Yeah.
Because I feel like nowadays it'd probably be like an Iraq War veteran or something like that. I've noticed something like anything that was like to do with the Vietnam War that's been like updated is now transplanted the Iraq War in its place. The Punisher does that. And
there's like a deeper sort of meaning to that, I suppose, where if you really look into it, and it's basically just saying like, oh, all war's just the same and just pointless, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of just has that weird, like, the fact that you can just so easily switch them out and the story doesn't change characters' arcs, especially like remakes and stuff like that, kind of just sort of makes you think, oh God, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah. To be fair, it is weird. Everything after World War II has kind of been like, because World War II is one of those wars where it's like, no one wanted it, but it kind of just happened, you know what I mean? Like, whereas like Vietnam, Iraq and that, it's all people's choices in that one. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more debate of should it have happened and this, that and the other. You know what I mean? Whereas, you can't do that with like a World War II veteran, I suppose.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The episode featured a replica of the Vietnam Veteran Memorial, and of which only a portion was real, the rest being filled in with CGI. Due to legal restrictions, the replica featured fake names chosen by the Sister of the Art assistant, Christina Lynn. The wall also included the names of the X-Files cast and crew, as well as noted writer Holland Ellison and model Jessica Hine.
Oh,
so there you go. I wonder if that's anywhere. That screams to me one of those things, like a piece of set that somebody's got somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone does have that, send us a picture. It'd be good to see. For day scenes, the replica and an accompanying grandstand were erected in Vancouver's Jericho Park due to the locals' expansive, groomed, flat characteristics, whereas night scenes were filmed in a large warehouse in Ballantine Pier. This move required the crew to dismantle and cart the grandstand from Jericho Park to the warehouse. Yeah, there you go. They had to move it. The crew used to film the memorial's re-inauguration scene, comprising 500 extras who were multiplied in post-production with CGI technology. Wow, I thought Lord of the Rings was like the first thing to do that. I didn't know X-Files did it before. 50 of these individuals had won the opportunity to appear in the show in a local radio contest.
I always wondered, like, how... I mean, I suppose it's nice and easy. Like, I always wondered how, like, extras got work. Is it just like, do they still do that? Or is it like actors now? I don't really know.
Usually extras, they put out like adverts on like, I think it is on like an acting or like a filmmaking whatever. They'll put out a call for extras depending on how many they need. Because like Mark, one of my friends, I've probably mentioned it before. He basically saw an advert for an extra thing, and then ended up working in what's it called, Ready Player One.
Yeah, I remember you saying, yeah.
But yeah, literally, he just saw an advert played. It was like, yeah, as long as you can be here at this time on this day, and you know they'll put you in it basically.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Right time. The trouble is with shooting schedules, it tends to be if you've got 9 to 5, you can't do it because they tend never to film like outside.
Even if you want to be like, it's a 5-minute scene, you'll be there for 5 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. Stanley Park doubled as Freedom Plaza because the park is public and operated by the Vancouver Park Board. City police cannot deny access. It cannot deny anyone access. This caused something of an issue when members of the paparazzi tried to photograph Anderson. Consequently, many of the available crew and production staff formed a human blockade, thereby blocking the photographers and protecting their co-star.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Paparazzi. They bloody get everywhere, don't they?
I hate paparazzi, I really do.
And that was the end of production notes. So, Critic Files?
It stinks!
Welcome to the Critic Files.
Oh, this one's a tough one. I'm gonna go right down the middle. I'm gonna go 7.5.
Okay, yeah. I was looking around that point. But I thought I did enjoy it more than I've given other than episodes that I've given a 7.5 for. So I thought I'm going to just knock it up to an 8.
Nice. But I reckon that's going to be more in line with like the rest of the reviews.
Well, you'd be surprised because out of 2,483 reviews, it got an average of 7.4 out of 10.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, not far from what we sort of saw the episode as.
Yeah, around about that mark.
And that's it from me this week.
Superb. Well, we've got a big week next week as our 100th episode's coming out. Not really the way we would have liked to have done it.
Yeah, I mean, we would have probably planned a lot more. I don't know. I'm trying to think of special things.
Let's be honest, it wouldn't have been special. We'd have been like majorly goofy. That's what would have happened in our 100th episode. Sadly, it is going to be in lockdown. I think we might try to celebrate. I mean, we'll try it. We'll be talking about it next week. But I think we'll try and get a special episode done once we're back face to face, because that could be quite nice.
It'll be our 132nd bonanza.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to our special 104th episode.
That's hopeful in 4 weeks.
Next week we'll be looking at the episode Tempus Fugit.
Yeah. I think we had trouble pronouncing this one when we came up in production notes before, so we're just going to go with that.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
So hopefully X-Files works for us, and it's an amazing episode.
Well, we shall see.
If it's not, then we can't be blamed for our 100th taking a little bit of a lull.
That 100th episode was a flop, wasn't it? It's not on us.
So I guess we'll see you next week. And stay safe until then, everybody.